Hello, fortune seekers. Do you hear that? Toss a coin to your game master, oh players of D&D, oh players of D&D. On today's episode, we are talking to Jack Panic about the highs and woes of running TTRPGs professionally. And Danny and I will see if we can survive his one-shot Escape from Dead Mall. That and so much more on today's episode of the Moth Studios Super Secret Podcast. Shh. Don't tell anybody about it. Hello and welcome back to the show, Fortune Seekers. I'm your host. Oh, I forgot to write the thing. That's the one thing I forgot. Well, I guess I'm your host, the forgetful Joel Watts. And as always, I am joined by...
Danny. Also feeling somewhat forgetful because I forgot to do anything for my intro as well.
Oh, well, you're such a good off-the-cuff guy that I just assumed you never wrote any of the stuff down.
I actually don't ever write anything down.
I knew it. I knew you were putting a show on. And today we are joined by professional game master and TTRPG system maker, Jack Panic. How are you doing today, Jack?
I'm doing so well. Thank you for asking. Mm-hmm. How are you doing?
I'm actually doing really fine now that we're getting into this, though I had to turn off the air conditioning at my house. So, audience, if you see me slowly get more and more glistening, you know why.
Oh, man, we're ready for that glisten. They're tuning in for that glisten.
100%.
All
You're
right.
looking good, Joel.
Well, thank you very much,
nice
Danny.
sheen.
I know.
Yeah.
Hey, 2 days of running, you'd be surprised what it can do to you. And we're doing that so, we can build up our tolerance or our physical being for our Kickstarter. And we'll get more into that later. But Today we are going to talk to Jack about the advantages of paying your TTRPG Game Master, wrestling with the TikTok algorithm, and he just might kill the two of us. We'll see. But before that, we'll say, hey, I'm a survivor, Jack. That's not true at all.
We'll see about that.
So is Reba McEntire. I think she still is. So.
Yeah. So before that, I do have to ask you and Danny a question. Are you ready for the question of the week?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So I will say we could zig or zag here. We have a question that I want to do, which is a little more traditional, and then we have a question Danny pitched, which is a little bit more left field. So let's see how this one goes, and if this one falls apart, how about we maybe try Danny's question out? So I was thinking, Jack, you're a TTRPG guy. I'm sure you have Dungeons and Dragons experience in your past. So just to really get the audience to know you and know what your personality type is, screw astrology. What is your favorite class race combination in Dungeons and Dragons?
And 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons?
I said classic in the prologue. I guess, for me, classic is 3rd edition, but I know that's, some people it's advanced. Let's just go 5e, base book 5e.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. Base book 5e. Favorite to run? I haven't played a character. I haven't played a character in a long time.
We'll get more into that, I'm sure.
Yeah. Off the cuff, I'm going to have to go dwarf... dwarf anything. Dwarf barbarian, dwarf fighter, dwarf bard, doesn't matter.
Okay, dwarves. Yeah. Dwarves are your guys.
Yeah, dwarves.
I feel
dwarves,
that.
hobbits, any of the short folk. I'm a big fan of. So, but if I had to give you a concrete answer, Dragonborn sorcerer. So.
Well, you went from a short king to a big guy.
My actual favorite class is wizard, and I tend to play human wizards because I just want to be Gandalf in real life. So
yeah, that was actually a follow-up. I think that was an alternate question of the week, was who's your favorite wizard and why? And I had a feeling it was just going to be a race to Gandalf. That's why I didn't go with it.
That's fair.
Sorry,
anyway,
Harry Potter.
You have to get really clever.
So I can go second because we might have to help Danny a little bit with his answer. But for me, sure. I will lay out my philosophies in some ways in this, but in real life, if I could be anything from the D&D book, I would want to be a paladin. I mean, it's kind of like, just classic hero. I like to think I'm a good guy. I try not to lie. I try to live by the law. I would like to help people out. I love paladins, just that Superman style Boy Scout
All
hero.
questionable claims.
Yes, Danny knows my shadow self. That's the thing.
You have the at least the illusion of self parameters. You have a code that you like to follow, and it helps you guide your decision making.
You have a nice
Exactly.
paladin face. You have the face of a paladin. I'll give you that.
Thank you. Okay. But I do, when it comes to playing the game, I really like to contrast my class and my race. So I like to go with something a little off the wall. And usually what that means is playing the goody two shoes, but making them half work. That's I don't know, that's my go-to race. I think it has the most,
For sure.
Contrast, the most off the wall, this character, just seeing a picture of them would tell you most of their story. But for the record, all my half orcs are hot. I only play hot.
I've never met a half orc that was not hot. So I think that we can all agree that even full orcs. I love me some orcs. Yeah.
There's a reason there's half orcs
like
out
that.
there, because people do love them.
Yeah,
Full
of course,
orcs.
of course.
So Danny, I know you're not as versed in 5th edition D&D. So if you want to ask us questions or kind of, kind of state some ideas, and maybe we can help guide you into what you might be best suitable for you.
Okay. What is D&D?
Oh, this is going to be a
Dorm
long
rooms and
episode.
drinking.
Yes.
I've done exactly one campaign. It lasted one session. I did die, so I guess I have to default to what
Full
I played.
experience.
And yeah.
Yeah.
Admittedly, I probably didn't do it right, but
We're gonna have to talk about that. We're gonna have to talk about that because that is an outrageous claim, because you can't do it wrong. But
I think he got pretty damn close to it.
yeah, I think I pushed the limits of what's right and wrong in D&D. I don't think my party liked me very much. I played a Furbog Druid. Is that what it is called? A Furbog? Is that a thing?
who knows how it's supposed to be pronounced? I think the Forgotten Realms has the most ridiculous naming conventions, but I say Furbog.
Druid.
It's kind of
Yeah.
Germanic.
For the record, my character was not hot. He was hungry, but he was not hot.
So
Okay.
That's all I got. Yeah.
Furbog Druid, yeah. That's what you played. But now the question is, did you enjoy the experience? And we can guide you, as far as maybe not the table experience, but as interfacing with the actual mechanics of the class and the aesthetic of it. Did you like being the cowman who wasn't very attractive, or should you have been a tiefling all along?
I don't know. I mean, here's the thing, and this was probably the number one mistake. First time playing. All the other people playing were first time players, and the person DMing was a first time DM/player. So no one knew what they were doing.
Sure.
So it was definitely kind of figure it out as we go along, and I think we all were quite confused most of the time. So I would say I don't know that I had a pure enough experience to grade how I felt.
That's right.
I enjoyed myself, I think, but I don't think I was.
You love the certainty of that.
Super certain.
It seems like something I liked.
But I'm ready to be converted with a real
Yeah.
true role playing experience.
think
And I have a
what-
great character lined up here that I think is going to
Wonderful.
be
Nice.
fantastic.
I think what Danny if I'm to read between the lines, what Danny liked about playing the character was that he trolled everybody at the table just a little bit. Am I wrong in
That
that?
big of a troll. I don't.
Okay.
I'm not always out to troll. Only
Not,
sometimes.
okay.
Furbolgs are slightly significantly shorter than trolls as well. So it's
That's
not a-
true.
Yeah.
That's true. We're talking
Point
about,
in case. Case closed.
Sorry, counselor. I'll stand down. I'll
Judge
stand
Jack.
But I guess what I would go to, just to round this out, is there a character, Danny, that you particularly identify with or would want to embody from fiction? That's usually like my
Yeah.
go-to for recommending what people play.
Gandalf.
Okay, there you go. I'm a
Yeah,
wizard.
there you go.
There you go.
I think that
Yeah.
that to piggyback off of this just for a second, I think that it's really good advice, Joel, to think of the fiction you want to inhabit, think of the characters you like, and make a little grab bag don't try to be too original. I think the originality comes from the moment to moment, and not from just necessarily the ideas that we put into it. Otherwise, we'd be writing books or like solo TTRPG, like the whole, you know. But I think that if you next time you play, just play that human wizard, just play that simple concept, and I bet you'll enjoy it.
Yeah,
Not
I'm
to
looking
get
forward
too
to
much
it.
on a rant soapbox, but you bring up such a valuable point, Jack. That is the clip that's going on TikTok. I'll tell you what, because if I had one critique of D&D players, the more unique your character is on paper, the more boring it is to play with you most of the time.
Yeah, it's a mixed bag. It doesn't give the result I think that is intended. It can happen. I mean, I have a lot of players that have who are very creative and they have lots of creative ideas. The main thing is that you can't have too much stuff there that keeps you from being able to be collaborative in the space. If you've
Yeah.
made too many concrete decisions about your character, they can't do things. They accept what you would, because you'll say
That
no to
makes sense.
stuff instead of saying
Yeah.
yes to things.
Yeah, because like when I did it, like my character, like their main thing was they didn't want to do anything, so that didn't really work well.
But I have
No agency.
I have silly characters in serious campaigns. I mean, I like taking a weird concept. You know, if someone's got I had a guy, he still plays with me. Plays in like 3 games, I think right now. Yeah. His first character was from a dimension. It was a barbarian sign spinner at a fried chicken place. And
Oh,
he
yeah.
wore the mascot's outfit, but it was just a cowl of like a chicken head and a chicken cape, and he was just like a greased up pro wrestler type underneath.
I love it.
And it ended up him coming from this fried chicken place ended up being a big part of our campaign. Actually, fried chicken pops up a lot in my games, and it's not something I've put in there. People just really like fried chicken, is what I'm learning.
I
Yeah.
mean, that is a human universal. Fried chicken is
Yeah,
delicious.
100%.
I haven't had
Maybe
it in too long.
Maybe we can hit the food court later.
Funny you
I
should
bet
say
we
that.
will. Ever dreamed of embarking on legendary quest, unlocking hidden secrets, and discovering untold riches? Dive into the world of X, Seekers of Fortune. It's the game that's soon to be taking the internet by storm. Sign up today at xseekersoffortune.com and start your journey to greatness. Remember, fortune favors the bold. See you there. So, Jack, I mean, I think those are great answers. I think we definitely learned something there, and already imparting wisdom on our audience. But why don't we talk a little bit about you and what you do? Because I am really excited about this. I almost want to call it like new frontier in Dungeons and Dragons. But why don't we get
Yeah.
started with going back to the beginning, or not just Dungeons and Dragons, TTRPGs. I do apologize if I use them interchangeably.
That is my experience as well. I was raised in a tradition of early D&D and Pathfinder, so to me, calling it D&D is just semantics. People prefer what they prefer. It doesn't bother me.
Yeah. So I did want to know, I mean, getting back to like that, what you were raised in, why don't we talk about when did you first get bit by the TTRPG bug?
For sure. I've been playing since I dropped out of college in 2000. That's some good info to put right at the beginning of any interview, is to be like, well, I stopped going to school. It was, I think, 2008, 2009 is when I stopped.
Okay.
And that's when I started playing, because I was just working at a restaurant, and I was just I had met some interesting people, and they were like, "Hey, you want to play this?" And I just started doing it. And I started playing. My first system I ever played was Pathfinder 1. And then I played a little 3.5 myself, and then 4th edition for about 5 sessions before we went back to Pathfinder.
The story
And then,
of 4th edition.
And 4th edition gets a bad rap. It's a cool game. It's just not what people wanted from D&D. You know what I mean? Like, there's tons of stuff in 4th edition rules I use all the time still, because they're very good rules. But
I think not to divert your answer, but from what I understand, my experience with fourth edition, it feels like if you were looking for a more gamey, like something that was like a combat simulator, that might be
yeah,
where fourth edition
my
shines not as
my
much on the role
understanding
playing.
my understanding of it is that it really very much looks like Wizards was trying to capitalize on the rise in popularity of World of Warcraft, and they wanted to make a game that felt on the table more like the experience of the way party building, and specifically the way that that you build your party, and how you need to have this type and this type and this type, and less on the focus of narrative. And so there are some. So to your point, there are a lot of things from that combat system that I still use because they're good combat rules. They actually could have had a nice place in fifth edition. But and then I started playing fifth edition when it came out, and I threw myself 100% into that. I started running games at my house every Sunday. And then I started. I tried to. I turned my living room into a streaming theater for about 6 months. My wonderful partner, she is amazing. My wife's so cool. My wife is one of my longtime players, but she let me turn the living room into a streaming theater, and I ran 3 games a week on Twitch, and I got all of like 20 followers. So I did that for about 9 months, 6 or 9 months, somewhere in between then, and then I had to, say, well, I'm not making any money on this, so I cannot spend any more time doing this. And then, I've worked in restaurants, so I've run games for I think now I probably run games for at least 100 plus people. And then when I got, and then recently, I've really, the last 2 or 3 years, I've really gotten into OSR and NSR games. A little bit of the old school. It's 2 terms that basically mean the same thing, and there's going to be some guys in the community that are going to argue with me on that. But they basically mean the same thing. It's the new school revolution, old school revolution. It's the idea that of taking these games from the 1970s, 1980s, taking the core of what makes them really fun and what works with them, and then adding this modern sensibility of game design to it. So you have these really stripped down, kind of easy to run, easy to understand systems that let you run specific types of games. So your biggest argument between like the beggar talk community, we're begging you to try anything but D&D, the beggar talk community, or Titterpig, also shout out to Titterpig.
I really did not want to have to say that term.
I wanted to say it a bunch of times.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it. If I'm on a podcast, I'm gonna say Titterpig. TTRPG, Titterpig.
Will,
Okay.
can we get a Titterpig counter on the screen?
Ding.
Here? Something.
Well, the basic idea is that now I wasn't part of this. Was a Google Plus community thing that popped up, I guess almost like 10 years ago now, and people were just building these systems, and they were they were sharing their knowledge back and forth and making these products. So basically, starting with like adapting advanced Dungeons and Dragons, original Dungeons and Dragons, to newer system, newer style of gameplay, where there's some things that are more simple. And right now I'm really drawn to things like my favorite games are tend to be like roll under games now, as opposed to roll over games. So like D&D 5e is you roll your 20 sided die, you roll it, and you're trying to hit a number or get above. But I love basically all of the derivative games that were built off the back of Into the Odd, which is a gorgeous book. Everybody should own it. If you like games at all, it's a fantastic system. If you like running D&D, you should buy Into the Odd, just so you can take in the philosophy of the book, or just go to the dude's website. It's good too. But so to go back to your question, so now I primarily run 5th edition D&D. I run 6 games a week. And I do have a club. I have an in-person game that I run at a local pub. It's about 5 or 6 blocks from my house. And every other week, every 2 weeks, we do like a small, like an indie TTRPG meetup. And it's just people who just I've just met, who found me online, and I do that one just for fun, for the community, because when you're when you turn your hobby into a job, you end up doing not things you don't like doing, but you end up taking on projects outside of the scope of maybe the things you'd like to spend your time on. Are there other games I'd like to run more than
Yeah.
5th edition D&D? Yeah, 100%. But I really enjoy the game
Gotta
that I
give the people
run.
what they want.
Well, and I've made it my own. So it's the game that I run at my table is a game that I love very dearly. You know,
And how many games are you running a week right now?
6. So I do every day but Wednesday, and then I'll every other Wednesday I'll do that one. So some weeks 7.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Dang, they got to stay busy in this career. I did.
Well,
have
that's part of it. Yeah.
2, maybe 3 follow-ups. Yeah,
Sure.
yeah, exactly. I'm sure we'll be getting to that here in just a moment. But I did have a couple of questions about that to go along with this. One was what was the gap between you being a player and you being a GM? Like, how long did it take you to move behind the curtain?
The first group I was a part of, the guy who taught me, so I think of role-playing games as kind of an anthropology to it, right? You get an imprint, and everybody has a fingerprint that they put on their game, and then they pass that down to someone else, and you learn it by the way of the community that taught it to you. And the guy who taught me to play role-playing games is a writer, and he's Jordan Koff. If you're out there, buddy, I love you. I think you're a fantastic DM. Taught me to take the game and break it to pieces, and use the pieces that you like, throw out the stuff you think is garbage, and only lean into the stuff that's fun, and embrace the chaos, and make the players. He always made our characters very important. And so when we stopped playing together, it was just me and a pal, and we both wanted to DM at that point. So neither of us got to play. And then, not very long. I'd say maybe about 2 years, just because I was still playing with the aforementioned very good DM. But once I did start doing it, I still play character every once in a while, especially when I have friends or people who are in my games or running their own games. I like to go and try to be a supportive cast member, But even then, when I play in someone else's game, I'm not really playing a character the way that I would encourage my players to play characters, because I have a hard time seeing myself as a main character in the TTRPG game, because I'm used to running side characters. I don't want to take the spotlight away from players, even when I am a player. So.
Well, I think that's awesome, though. Your GM friends out there know that they got a ringer that they can call in to play that support role. Somebody to come in, maybe make an emotional plea and die heroically, or tragically.
I like to play.
Like
I like to play a Chewbacca. Because your D&D party, the only balance you need is it's not about class abilities. It's about archetypes. It's about characters that mix well together. It's okay to have a lone wolf edgelord as long as he's got a himbo, and then like the gruff old group mom, and you need all those characters. So I was like playing a weird outsider whose actions are questionable but always lovable. So that tends to be what I play. But
okay, no, I completely agree. You can't. Okay, but Danny and I had talked about this, I think, in one of the early, I think the second episode of the podcast, my Ninja Turtles theory for party composition, which is you kind of need to have something like those 4 characters. Donatello, the nerd; Leonardo, the leader; Raphael, the lone wolf; and Michelangelo, the good time party guy.
Joel, I've literally said that to people before. That's so funny. I've literally said that. I think that those are good archetypes. That my favorite fiction tend to fall into that. You could even base an entire campaign off of the archetypes from Seinfeld. The main cast works really well. Jerry, a George, a Kramer, and Elaine. Those are 4 types that play off each other really well. There's a lot of good, especially pairings in 4, which I think is Always Sunny. Those 5 characters would make an interesting party, and they're good little archetypes. But yeah, Ninja Turtles specifically is a solid reference point.
Yeah. You also said something else there that I have kind of witnessed secondhand through. I listened to a D&D podcast called Not Another D&D Podcast, and I think the DM there is Brian Murphy, and he is anthropologically a descendant of, I forget the other gentleman's name. I'm blanking on it, but I think of him as being the guy who should be the most famous D&D dungeon master, not the guy who runs. I'm losing all the names. The most popular D&D show is called
Dimension 20, right? You're talking about Brendan Lee Mulligan?
I'm talking about Brendan Lee Mulligan. Yeah, I think he is like the best. I think he's one of the best dungeon masters, at least when it comes to that lifestyle like theater play. And the Not Another D&D podcast is ran by one of his
Brian
players,
Murphy, who was in Fantasy High. I've only seen one. I don't watch actual plays. I don't
blame you.
I like them. I love the first season of Fantasy High. My brain gets too wiggly when I see other people play D&D, and I want to go. I end up just writing through it, and I don't pay attention to it. So it's not. And when I write, I don't write on paper. I normally pace in my kitchen. So if I put on a pod like that as a podcast to do dishes to, I end up just pacing in a circle, writing my own game while people are yammering in the background, and it's not super conducive. But Brian Murphy, I'm familiar. He's awesome.
Yeah. It's interesting you said there about if your brain gets wiggly when you're listening to other people play. How in the moment are you when you're running a game? Like, are you just like locked in, or how is that for you?
I'm pretty much too locked in sometimes. It's a nice thing because jokes and meme sharing and kind of the cutting up stuff doesn't catch me as much. I do enjoy it. I love the camaraderie at the table, but I'm always kind of like, okay, yeah. So let's which was maybe annoying. I'll admit this, made me annoying as an in-person DM for your friends. It was not a great quality to be like, hey, are you on your phone? To your good pal who doesn't give a toot about I don't know if we can cuss, so I'm just gonna say a toot. He doesn't give a toot. I'm gonna stick with toot. It doesn't give a toot about your story, but or about the verisimilitude.
Yeah, verisimilitude.
Thank you.
Verisimilitude.
Yeah. It doesn't care about that, but is there to have fun, But the nice thing about the online games, when everyone's paying a little money on the table, everybody wants to be there for the fiction. So I'm less annoying in this forum because it's a good quality. But yeah, I'm pretty locked in from start to go to finish.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
that's very cool.
I think that's a good quality to have. Go ahead, Danny.
No, yeah, 100%. Like I always like figuring out what are the things that get people into that flow state where they're just locked in and like time stops and like they're just so in the moment.
I'll cut myself off and I'll go on diatribes and I'll do all sorts of bad like stuff that doesn't seem like it's locked in. But as far as like leaving the space of the game, I would rather spend most of my time in the fiction. And that's probably just a compounding issue of neurological issues and trauma. But it is a place that I am the most happy. I'm the most safe and happy. So it's hard to pull me out. It was a real issue when I wasn't doing it professionally because I wanted to play and think about it way more than I probably should have for as much as I was as much time as I was putting into it. I was just super fortunate. So obviously sorry, go ahead. You were going to say something?
Oh, no. I was just going to ask you, how did you actually get into the point where you were being professionally, compensated to run games?
Gotcha.
What was that first? Yeah.
The pandemic happened, and with that came changing attitudes of what you could do online once people started getting paid at other jobs online. Also, I think the declining quality of the economy has actually made it a lot more acceptable. When I first started playing, the idea of a paid DM was kind of sacrilegious. You still get people. I still get people every once in a while that mostly young dudes. I'm not. I get it. I'm not mad at people who have don't think I should get paid to do my job. But the situation where it's like, okay, well, you're making it. We at one point the shift of in the public forum, you tell people you're surviving comfortably, doing something, especially something you like. People are like, oh, that's rad. People just stopped having that like purity test about it. But what I did is I worked at a restaurant. And I worked at a restaurant for the restaurant I worked at last. I worked at for like 5 years. I was a manager at one point and was a bartending at that point. And I just told my boss, I was like, hey, I'm going to try this thing out. I run all my games through, if you don't mind me doing a little pitch for, I'm not,
Go ahead.
I don't work for him, but I run all my games through startplaying.games. It's a fantastic service. It's run by fantastic people. Devin also, he's on TikTok. He also has a Total Party Chill. He's a great guy. But it's this really interesting website where essentially, it's like Airbnb for D&D is what they say. It's like, I want to play on Tuesday night and I want to play this system and I want to play at this hour, and then it searches through games and then it searches through game listings. And so I just made a game listing on Start Playing. And I said, maybe somebody will want to do this. And then that campaign ended up lasting from session level 1 to level 20. We got all the way through an entire
full epic.
I tend to run my campaigns for about a year plus. So I don't do like the super long, year long campaigns or whatever. But I did that, and then what I did is I told my boss, I was like, hey, I'm trying to do this thing. I'm going to need to only work 4 days a week now. And I need to keep all of my shifts. And I need all of the day parts where I'm already making that money. And luckily, I just had a good working relationship with those people. And they were very kind. And they were cool with me, keeping those very well-paying bartending shifts so that I could. And then one by one, I replaced the shift for the game until I crunched the numbers. And, and it made sense for my family for me to take the plunge. And that's.
I will say, shout out for sitting down and doing the math and looking over your finances. If you want anything to get you closer to your dreams, sit down, do the math, consider your finances.
It's the worst part of all of it.
Surprised.
The worst part of all of it.
The worst part, but the most necessary.
It is very necessary.
What's the overlap there between being a dungeon master and being a bartender? Like, where do those? What's the Venn diagram? Where do those?
I have a few opinions on that.
Probably more of a circle than anything else. I mean, it is. I'm serious. As a matter of fact, we were in a tavern scene last night and the night before, and I was like, guys, you're getting real answers. They were doing like the. Not flirt, because they're not interested, but they were trying to cajole the barmaid into this or that, and I was like, dude, she's not interested. Are you guys tipping? And they put gold down, and then I was like, oh, she's very amiable all of a sudden. So you get the real experience with. No, I'd say like it's almost a circle because DMing in its core, and when I say DMing, I mean GMing. I know that some people care about the terminology, but once again, I'm raised on D&D, so I say DM. DMing, running games in general, in my philosophy, is essentially a customer service job, because the way, especially a game like 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, which we'll probably end up talking about a lot on this podcast because that's the nature of the beast. It has a lot of pieces that move around, and they aren't really held together with anything other than duct tape. Just the concept of them being together. They're not a lot of clever systems, just a lot of systems, and they can be even 5th edition, which is supposed to be the easiest version of D&D to get into. But essentially, your job is to look at these players. Another thing for 4th edition, they talked about the types of players in the handbook. It was really, really nice. You look at your players and you try to figure out what they want from the game. Right, you want to look at each person, and you want to try in that. The way I look at it is, in my 3 hours that I have with these people, I want to try to run the version of the game for each of them because it's just a conversation. The game is just a conversation, so you can change the style of how you interface with the game per person as you're having conversations with them, and you try to figure out what they're looking for, and you try to engage those factors, and then you get rid of things that they're not interested in. So, for instance, if no one gives a toot about overland travel, if camping is boring, you don't do it. You know what I mean? You just don't. You just hand wave that because no one cares about it. Now, if somebody built a character that wants to wants to be a Crocodile Dundee, then you got to put that in the game. You got to make sure that element is there, and that is bartending. I mean, bartending is going up to people and be like, "Hey, how's it going?" And then those people going, I don't know if I like you yet, and I don't know if I like this yet. And if I'm not entertained, I'm not going to be happy. And it's the same thing. If you sit on a table and you've got nothing to offer them, if you've got nothing to serve them, then they're not going to have a good time. But instead, it's like you size people up and you go, okay, well, this guy wants a shot and a beer, and he wants me to listen to him and laugh at his jokes. And I'm going to do that so that he's yapping at me and not talking to this person and annoying them. And this lady wants to have this type of drink, and she wants everyone has their own order, right? And that's kind of the same in a TTRPG. You've got 6 people, you got to figure out what their orders are, and you got to be consistently delivering those orders throughout the experience in order for it to feel like I can't remember who said it, but you want every session you never really want a session to feel like a 10 unless it's earned it. You don't want to shoot for running a 10 out of 10. You want to shoot for consistent 7s. you don't want a bad session. If you get a great session, that's fine, but you want the session to be at least tasty enough that they're thinking about it between games, so that it lives, because the game lives in our head. It's a conversation, it lives in our head, and the moment you stop thinking about it, the moment you're not playing it anymore, and you forget about it. Yeah, it's hard to latch onto it because it's ephemeral. It's ether,
Well, that's like, I mean, Danny and I have experience with that with X Seekers of Fortune, and until we sat down and like actually wrote out the rules, it was this ongoing conversation. Like, well, if I do this in the game, you do that, or this is how a turn works. So there was, and I think that's true for almost anything, any new frontier you go into, or any creative space, imagination space, you basically have to, like be in a conversation, be in like an agreed upon world with other people. There was something you said. Well, one thing I want to say is you were a much better bartender than I was, because I had low thresholds for patience with my customers if they wanted. I think I was more of a build a drink omatic than I was a bartender.
That is the better part of the job, though.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're being real, the best part of bartending is just making drinks, the production aspect, not having to talk to people.
Oh yeah. God, I miss making old fashions.
What's your best drink, Jack? What do you make the best?
Nothing. I'm very consistent. I have a good brain for memorizing, the things, doing them the way they're supposed to be done. I think my real asset as a bartender was just reading people and trying to give them the ones who gave me the money. That's how I gauge a good how good I was. Who's tipping me the most, and honestly, if you can, I'm good at acting and pretending, so I'm a very anxious person. I hate going outside. I leave my house once every 2 weeks. I'm really not much of a social butterfly, but I do like making other people feel comfortable, and that was my role. So I would normally be paired up with a guy like, or another person like you, Joel, who's someone who's, more of a the workhorse, who's good at keeping the flow of things, and I manage the people.
Yeah, that was a good team up whenever I was with like the people person, and I could have my conversations with folks, but I first and foremost wanted to get the next person in line to drink. Sure. I was going to say though, I think based on my personality and how I would probably DM, and like what you said about your own strictness at the table, I think the overlap with bartending is getting people's attention and getting them to to tell them what they want, tell you what they want as soon as possible, kind of getting things back in line, like letting it veer off course just enough, but then like reminding everybody, hey guys, we'll get back to it. Let's focus.
There's I think going back for a second to the whole professional DM thing. I think there's a lot of people who hear that and kind of see it as glamorous. I think there are a lot of people who are like, oh man, I wish that was my life. What would you
That's
say?
how I felt about it when I saw people doing it online. I saw people on TikTok, and I got really jealous. I got super jealous. There's a handful of people I'm mutuals with now, people who are really friendly, really wonderful people. I won't say names because that's embarrassing. But I looked at them and I got jealous. I'm like, this person is doing it, and I was like, I can do it. Sorry, I cut you off. You were in the middle of saying something.
Yeah, no.
Well, I think the operative word came up there. Had had been what I was expecting.
So I guess where I was going with it is, like, for people out there who are jealous, looking at you right now, who are the people that are gonna be cut out for being a DM? Because I'm sure it's also a slog, right? Like, who should be pursuing being a professional DM? What does it take?
If you have a system, if you are a person who's run. I don't know. I think that I had the benefit of a lot of experience. I've been running games for a decade plus or whatever, right? So I have a lot of experience, and that's helpful. But I think that the main thing is trying to figure out who your audience is, being able to market yourself. It's really hard to, you got to figure out a way to get people to look at you and trust you and want to give you money, obviously. But I think the biggest thing is you either need to be a person who has a great system for how they prepare for their sessions. I have a great low impact system. I don't need to do this. I know I can spend 15 minutes beforehand. I can run a game, and it's great. People love it, and they'll keep paying me for it. Or you need to be a person who enjoys that prep. And then the other side of that is you got to have. I mean, the truth is, I only got to this space because I had tons of support. My wife was super supportive. My job that I had such a good rapport there that they were supportive of me fluctuating my schedule. And then I just had to work. I had to work full time there was an overlap of doing the two jobs on top of each other, where I would work in the morning and I work a day shift, and I come home, see my wife, see my kid, cook dinner, hop online, and not get done with my day until midnight. So. And that's not like a bootstrappy, like, that's just like, I knew I had to do it. I literally, like, not to get too personal, but I stopped drinking because I just didn't have the room for that. I stopped going out because I didn't have the room for that. Now, I don't like doing those things, it turns out, anyways, but it's been very, very nice in the long run. But I had to make some mild sacrifice. My family had to make some mild sacrifices, right? And I think that you need to really consider the support you're going to need and the drive to get through. But big caveat, but I think anybody can do it. I think running a game is inherently a fun thing to do. I think that knowing your audience, knowing what you're worth, if you wanted to try to run a game for $10, $5, maybe make $30, maybe, and maybe people really enjoy it. I would challenge most people to take a risk on themselves versus trying to be too worried about it. The nice thing is you can do it from your home. There's no overhead. It's not. Now, how are you going to fill up 6 games? That's kind of hard to do. That's been the real challenge, and I have to run as many. I had to sit down and do the math. I had to figure out how much I had to charge per seat, how much I had to make per day. I knew what I made at the restaurant. I compared those numbers. I promised my wife that I would be somewhere in a comparable range from one income to the other. Right. So if you know you're going to have to run 7 games, but you've got the time to run 7 games a week, and you have the mental capacity to do it, you'll fill those seats up, and it'll be fine. Crazy thing that happened to me that I didn't expect is I'd say that, like, I'm making up numbers, they're fake numbers, but literally nearly half of my players played at least one other game in my week. I have 1 player that plays in 4 games. I have 2 players that play in 3 games. I have 4 players that play in 2 games. I have 2 games that are I have 3 games that are basically the same 6 people remixed between the 3 games, and that I didn't expect. I didn't expect. I think community building is super important in anything that we do in 2023 because we're losing our sense of community as a species. So I think anyone can do it. I think gatekeeping's out, man. I think that I try to do it on my channel, like on TikTok and stuff. I try to be like in that mindset where it's like we can all help. Rising water lifts all boats, or whatever, high tide, or whatever the word is. And high water pants keep your feet wet. I don't know this to say.
Keep your feet wet and your pants dry.
Your pants dry, feet
Everything's
wet,
coming
which
up
is where
Millhouse.
this is what we want. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So I think that's my official answer is I think that anyone who wants to try it should try it, and the worst case scenario is that you give it a go.
Yeah.
But there's very little risk involved, especially if you're just like, I'm gonna see what my Thursday night would look like.
Okay.
All you got to do is
So
find 5 people. It's not
just to yeah. So well, just to sharpen it up a little bit though, to make it practical for people who want to make the jump. What do they need to be prepared to do at minimum? What do you think that you would need to do to have a good shot at being successful doing it?
You need to figure out a way to the one thing that I try to do, maybe I should just speak from my experience as opposed to like from some sort of all-knowing, wizened, viewpoint. But for me, it's about making sure that I'm consistently running the game that I think is worth what I'm charging for it, and what is the kind of game that I would want to play, and not letting anything rest. So that's maybe the biggest difference, right? You're running a game at home. It's for your buddies. You didn't prep that much. You didn't do this. You don't have this minis. You don't have this thing. Who cares? Who cares? If they don't like it, they're dicks, and they can go. You can find more people to come over to your house. Yeah. I invited you over. You didn't bring pizza, Steven. So I think that that mindset, but like for me, there's no paid leave unless there's no paid leave. I can take a break. I can say I can't play tonight and email home night. We're going to take next week off. Yada yada. I'm fully in control of my schedule, which is super nice. But I can't stop. Once you build the momentum, it's once I get one game feeling like pretty solid, it's time to move back to another one and give it a retool. It's time to update. I make tons of graphics for my games, play mats and character portraits. I make art for my NPCs. I kind of these days think of myself more like almost like a video game developer, because I have these games that are running and I'm just constantly building like DLC packs for each game, and that might take me anywhere from 40 minutes to 6 hours, depending on my brain and what I've got going for me and how little failure I've had in being experimental along the way. But I think that's the thing that keeps my players coming back. I think that's the thing that keeps them engaged and keeps them wanting to shell out the bucks. Because let's be honest, that's we can pretend like that's not an important part of the conversation, but it is an important part of the conversation because they're giving me their money to relax, to have fun. I mean, yeah, it's about the price of going to a movie, essentially, to play one of my games. So it'd be like going out to the movies. Most of my games are weekly. Going out to the movies every week, which is but that's kind of outrageous. I mean, like I don't go out to movies ever. So
well, it sounds like some of your players are going multiple times a week to the movies.
Yeah. So I think it's a matter of and because I don't stop trying to make my games the kind of interesting to me and feel fresh, I think they stay. But that's tough. That can be a grind, and you can experience burnout on one game while you're still super excited about another, which is a weird feeling, and especially when there's money on the table. But you just kind of deal with it. But it is not grueling because it's super fun. I really like it. But balancing your work life stuff and like trying to make sure that you're doing enough for your players and seeing them as your players and as clients is kind of weird, but ultimately fine if you are super respectful of the transactional nature of it. I mean, you have to be more mindful of that. That's maybe honestly that's the hardest part. The hardest part is going, oh man, I have to message this guy and be like, hey, your credit card didn't go through. That's not fun. Nobody wants to do that. So that no, I haven't had any issues with that, but but it is not. If it was up to me, I would just I'd just be the king would pay me a penance to write the games for everybody in the village, and the nice thing though is that
government
people
assigned
who
GMs.
if
I
the
love
people who play my games, I feel like we have like a classic kind of they are I see them as artists, I see them as writers, I see them as collaborators, but they are paying me like patrons to go to the theater. I provide the theater, I provide the space that we all act in. So we do have. I think it's more wholesome than I expected it to be. I don't have anybody yelling at me like that game was shit. I want my $20 back or whatever. So I hope I rambled through that question good enough.
No, you did a great job. The only thing that I was wanting to stop and be like, raise my eyebrow about was my thought process was the way I run 6 sessions a week is that I kind of secretly run the same session 6 times over. But the fact that you have multiple players going across multiple sessions, I mean, that's out. You might be able to get away with a couple of tropes or encounters that might have similar math or something.
I thought that I was going to be able to repurpose assets more, and I could. They wouldn't care. It's all for me. You know what I mean? Like I want those things to feel fresh. I want to live up to a standard. But no, they're all separate games and they're all interconnected. So they all share the same.
The Avengers over here.
I love that element of that media. I think that it's ultimately the downfall of it because it's movies. But we're not making movies. We're not even making art. The thing we make is not a product. The experience together and the story we tell, that's the art. But I'm not streaming this. No one's watching it. We're watching it together. So I love that stuff. Yeah, but I honestly I did that because that's just how my brain works. And if I tried to run the same game, I would ultimately probably be bored or confused by that. I might be more confused trying to figure out where everybody is. I also don't run I do a bait and switch on. I'll tell you right now. I do a bait and switch when I list games. I normally call a game something that's all like a module that's already written, and I retool it pretty hardcore so that it's not. I don't normally use a lot of the books, and I just try to trap people who don't know any better to just give me a chance, and then they stick around and play in 3 games.
That makes sense because somebody out there might be looking to run Temple of Elemental Evil. They really want to run that, or what is the other one that's very famous? The vampire one, Ravenloft.
Curse of Strahd. Yeah, I'm running a Curse of Strahd right now. It's a monster movie themed Curse of Strahd. Everybody was assigned an archetype at the beginning of the game, like the monster hunter, the scientist, the damsel, the creature. My Friday night game is a western. My Tuesday night game is a noir heist game. My Monday night game is going to be a propaganda 1970s detective thriller. It's going to have a modern setting D&D thing.
Like where somebody's saying through their teeth, I'm going to get you, punk.
Exactly. The players aren't actually playing cops, but one of the themes are going to be the authoritarian power and how it gets pushed down on. Capitalism's always a bad guy. That is the one rule that I agree with the greater meta of D&D. But so I have to have these things be a way that helps my brain be like, okay, this is this game, this is this game. And lets them have a different flavor. They look different in my head. If I was running Lost Mines of Phandelver for every table, I think I would have been booed off the stage already.
Go a little cuckoo. For Cocoa Puffs.
For any puffs, really.
Yeah, you've listed off at least 3 of those games that I would love to be at the table for. So I can definitely see the variety of the spice of life, and I understand why your players do play in multiple games. It's not just all the fantasy, tropes. We've all gotten a lot of that.
Yeah, well, and I have a fantasy game. I am doing Dragonbane right now for a table, which is another system that Free League put out very recently. That was my game. My group had finished a campaign. I was like, hey, can we play another system? And they were like, dude, whatever. So we're playing Dragonbane over there. That's just a pure fantasy game. It's just classic.
Okay.
So there's a little bit of everything, but yeah, I couldn't. It seemed like a bummer at first. I couldn't reuse those assets, but at the end of the day, I think it's what keeps my game feeling fresh.
Cool. And just curious, is there a place for the people listening in here to look at those assets specifically that you use for your games? Do you have them on Instagram, or is this part of your TikTok?
I don't have the stuff. I have one on my itch.io / dungeon club. I have a couple free things there. Pretty much all my stuff online right now is free. It's a virtual tabletop starter kit, and it's a play mat and tokens, and it gets generic fantasy. It gets you far enough along to play a game in the way I do. And I've made a few videos on TikTok about how I do it, but the problem is that the stuff that I use in my games, they're images I find online. They're, I use some AI art in that game, and obviously you had the big conversation about AI art. It's the difference between using it for models and for private personal use and putting it out on the market, putting it out in front of people. Is a different beast in my opinion. So I use a lot of art that without commissioning it, and I use a lot of stuff, and so I can't put that stuff online because I don't want to cross those lines. It's a private game though, you know what I mean? So it's not a big deal.
I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you were moving into publishing, like if you actually wanted to take your private game and turn it into a module, you'd commission art. I'm sure.
Exactly.
And
So all
as
the
a
stuff,
proportion of what they're paying you for, it's relatively small. I mean, you're putting a lot of your own energy and effort into it. That's what you're being compensated for.
No, like all the stuff I make on TikTok, I make all those graphics.
Well, beautiful graphics too. Definitely check out your TikTok. What is your handle again on TikTok? Just
it's the Dungeon Manager.
Dungeon Manager. Yeah, I've seen a few of your rule systems that you've uploaded, and as a designer myself, I'm just like, wow, you got all there. You got all the nice layers and textures, typography. It's just a pleasure to look at.
I'm super heavily in the last few years. I've been super heavily influenced by the Stockholm Cartel games, Mörkborg, and Cyborg. If you don't have a copy of that, just get it for your coffee table. It's gorgeous. The aggressive doom punk, in your face typography. I purposely started making those posts as illegible as possible, because I was just trying to evoke a style. I've only made them more legible more recently because now I have enough of a following where people are like, I can't read this. And after you hear that 200 times, you're like, okay, I'll use a font that makes sense. Yeah. So as far as stuff for the game, unfortunately, my plan is though to eventually have asset packs that would be compatible with maybe 5e adjacent stuff, like a gothic fantasy pack. I have a lot of stuff that I want to make that I eventually will want to turn into products, but that's just kind of down the pipeline for me right now. It's not really something that I have time for.
You mentioned your following on TikTok. Maybe it'd be a good time for us to talk a little bit about your algorithm woes, or just in general what it's like to be a creator on TikTok from your perspective.
It's for the most part, it's been incredible. I have learned a lot. I mean, it's a social media platform. It's a giant company, and it's mining my data and whatnot. It's it is what it is. But as far as the community of people I found you guys on TikTok. There are a lot of great people like Kervin. There are tons of awesome creators on there. Super nice people. And then it was kind of crazy. I was making talking head videos, hey guys, today I'm going to talk about how I like to run NPCs and I wasn't getting a lot of views, and it was fine. I was mostly just doing it to help recruit for my games. And my whole TikTok thing was like, I just gotta, if I can run an ad and 2,000 people see it, and I'm trying to fill 2 seats, and one person, I spent $10 and one person takes it, that's good. You know what I mean? Like I'm making that money back literally the next time that we play with that person. But then I made a graphic, and that one got a bit of a buzz, and then I basically published my first game system on TikTok, the Instant Dungeon system, and that blew up. And then I got a pretty big following, and really it's interesting because I'm here all day. I take care of my son, and I only work. I mean, I work at night. I say work. I shouldn't do the air quotes, but I work at night. So during the day, I try. I mean, I have the opportunity. I have the opportunity to literally try to create content every day because it just kind of fits in my schedule, and so I just feel like I've just beaten the shit out of the TikTok algorithm. I feel like I've just forced it into, because it likes to be fed. And I think that worked really well for me. And now that I'm approaching 10,000 people, I've noticed some weird shenanigans. I thought I was shadow banned this week. I had a post that only did so you guys post on there. Your algorithm, the way it normally works, right? It's like you post something and it shows it to X amount of people, kind of based on your following. You can tell that it proportionally shows it to more or less people based on how many people you kind of have in your network. And then if I think it's a 4-to-1 ratio. If 1 out of every 4 people like a post, it sends it to more people, and then you get your viralness, and more people engage, yada yada yada. I had a post today this week that it did 5 views in the first hour, and normally my posts do anywhere from like 500 to 1,500 in the first hour, and it could be the quality of content. Like I like the stuff I make, but that doesn't mean it's good. But I thought it was good, So it. But maybe who knows? I literally made a post yesterday. I was like, I think I'm shadow banned. Please interact, and I had people that are like, I'm from the For You page. I don't know you, but you're here. So
it is strange though, because I do feel like I'm seeing less of your content lately. So I don't know what that says.
I think that if you want my conspiracy theory is that as you reach the 10,000 mark, which is the monetization line of being able for your videos to make money. Now, I don't make videos, which is the irony of this. I make photo posts, which are not eligible for any of that money. So I will never make money off TikTok, except through my Patreon, which we'll plug at the end, I'm sure. I lost myself. I lost it.
Well, you said the conspiracy about TikTok as you get closer to 10,000. Yeah,
I think they're just trying to make it. It was really hard to get that first 1,000. I remember that feeling like really hard to get those views. I think that there might be a bit of a bell kind of curve thing happening where it's a little it's hard to get up there, and then you kind of ride the wave of that, and then as it goes up roller coaster style, I feel like the expectation is for me to chip away at the last 700 people to beat that threshold is what I feel like, but that's tinfoil hat stuff. And I honestly, it's just one of those things. You just can't look at those numbers and go that they let them really mean anything. Like it's cool that I have a lot of followers, but if they want to see my stuff, TikTok's not necessarily going to show it to them. Now I do have a bunch of people that I can tell they check my page and they post, and I've got my patrons and building community there, and that's fantastic. And I'm certainly not complaining. It is what it is. I don't need to get to 10,000. Like I said, I'll never make my half a penny off of any of my posts because of the way the system's structured. It's just interesting. It bums me out as a creator because right now TikTok is my main distribution platform for my ideas. So if I spend an hour and a half creating content, and then I put it in the machine, and the machine says it's no good, and no one sees it, I feel like that's wasted time. I should have been playing with my son. You know what I mean? Like if it goes out and it's cool when like a ton of people see something. A good thing for people who have never had something go viral. It doesn't feel like anything. It's exciting. It's like dopamine inducing to see numbers wiggle around. But it doesn't feel like people are going congratulations, because it's just numbers on a screen, and you get your comments right. So the satisfying interactions are the people who are like, oh yeah, this is great, another banger. I'm going to use this tonight. I literally had a dude or a person hit me up and say, hey, I'm streaming this on Twitch. So the mall adventure that we're going to do in a little bit, a group did using Kids on Bikes, the system Kids on Bikes. They ran it for Halloween. They ran it 2 weeks in a row. They did it on their stream. That was super cool. That was so validating, just to have somebody be like, I want to play with your toys. You made toys. You make cool toys. That is validating. You guys designed games. I mean, it's fun to be like, I made a thing. Oh, I made a very nice. This is beautiful. I think the mechanics are dope. I have fun playing it with my family. But it would be really nice if I put this in the hands of a Magic the Gathering player, and they just went, "Oh, this, yeah, I get this. This is fun. Oh, yeah, sign me up. Give me a copy." That's, the sell is nice because that's validating. We live in, the capitalism world, but the real validation comes from people going like, "Ooh, this is fun," and that's what I want. I want people to like hold my stuff and like change it, and like I want to influence their ideas. And it's a real bummer when it doesn't do that. So that's my main gripe. It's not, it is what it is, and I'm gonna keep putting stuff on there because I don't know what else to do. So just gonna keep.
I mean, it's the very least, it's an audience that you could funnel somewhere else. And as you mentioned, most of your posts are about your homegrown system, which is very stripped down. I was hoping maybe you could explain it to our audience. Just give them the quick pitch, because as somebody who's read, done the player's handbook a couple times. You could read you could read these like 30 times over before you're even done with the introduction of the player's handbook.
So the story behind this is that I actually started building the instant dungeon. Was just a post idea. It was a post idea, and my first one was called the Lighthouse, and I built a little 3-page slide carousel on TikTok that was different locations at a lighthouse, and it had some kind of like, it was like most of my stuff I try to make kind of system agnostic. It leans towards D20 stuff, but it could be for 5e, it could be for Call of Cthulhu, it could be for whatever you want to play it on. And I love the movie The Lighthouse, so I just made kind of a weird little thing, and then people were like, what system? And then I was like, it'd be kind of cool to make this in a way where you could like roll up a character and play it while you're scrolling TikTok. Like, pull up this encounter, because each page is a different location. So you complete this page, you swipe, and then you're at the next location. You do a couple rolls, you swipe, you're at the next location, and then you've completed an adventure, and maybe it took you like 7 minutes to play. So I made a system that be small enough to fit on TikTok. These are the parameters where I wanted to build a system that was small enough to fit on TikTok, that was stripped down enough that it was easy to look at when it was a small square on your screen, and that worked on its own and could be played solo. And so I drew a ton of inspiration from Into the Odd and its derivatives. I mean that in a positive way, like the games that came from its creation. Liminal Horror by Goblin Archives, fantastic game. Dragonbane. So I took these roll under games, and I was like, okay, I want to take that. I'm gonna make it a D6 system, the most common die. Kind of go with that retro feel instead of doing a D20 system. To make it a D6 system. And then I put it out there, and that post was maybe my to date was my biggest post at that point. I got like 70,000 views in the first week.
Wow.
And it was right at my 1,000-person mark on TikTok, which is where you get your live status, where you can go on live. And then I put it on my itch. So I was like, well, look at that. I published a game. Stuff I've been trying to do. I'm 30. I'll be 37 this month. Stuff I've been trying to do for like 15 years. I got done in like 2 weeks on TikTok. So I'm very grateful for the kismet, the lightning in the bottle that happened. But so the system, I just wanted something that worked. It was simple and had rules for moving through, how your characters would act, and then how monsters would act in a DM-less situation. You could use this system, you could use these encounters and run them with the DM, run them for 5e. But I wanted to be like, if I really wanted to play a game on my TikTok app, how would I make that work? So that's the system. The system is and the one that we're using tonight is my retool, the survival horror edition that I put together for Halloween. I made a bunch of content the week of Halloween this year because I wanted to do a one shot. I wanted to make a magic weapon, a couple monsters. I made a magic vending machine that's in the mall. I made an evil cheeseburger, an evil Margaritaville.
Yes.
Called Murderitaville. I found a fantastic minor mode version of Margaritaville on TikTok, and I was like, I have to build an entire.
Rest in peace. Tell me about this.
That you end up fighting a mimic buffet. And if you defeat it, you get the cheeseburger of paradise, of course.
Oh, so, hell yeah.
I love it.
Looking for that burger.
I'm super stoked. Yeah.
I guess just to round out the conversation on this system, though, like to give people the robustness of it, how many adaptations, I guess, of the system have you done? Like how many different themes Have you been able?
I've
to
just
apply
I've
it
just
to?
done I've just done the two. I've the like the fantasy setup and then this modern horror edition of it. I did build a couple of like add-ons to it. I had a lot of people that were like, "Is this the next? Is this the thing? Like, let's get on board. Like, I want to." I had people like hit me up like, "I want to design. Can we?" And the truth was that it was just kind of a thing I made. So going forward, a year from now, I'm hoping to be in my first Kickstarter for a game, and I have two games on my brain, and one of them is essentially the expanded version of Instant Dungeon into its own like core system, and like a coffee table book kind of thing, and then another game that I won't get into, but the. I made an expanded class list. I made a bunch of content for it when I was writing the wave of it, a couple of more encounters, but I hadn't touched it since we're talking a span of 3 months, so a few months ago, and then I was like, I'm gonna retool it and make it so that it makes sense for modern urban exploration and horror. So
Nice.
Okay, and I presume you would suggest. So you suggest this game system specifically for if you want to play a game solo while scrolling TikTok.
That was my design intent. You can do that. I think that it's still. I think that the back and forth of having a DM is probably preferable for an experience. The adventure, all the stuff I make, the idea is that it's just meant there to inspire. So if a person wants to run a system they prefer on it, I would say that's the best system to run. If you want to run Dead Mall, Escape from Dead Mall, and you want to run it with D&D 5e, and you have a Zoltar machine in the toy store that gives everybody fantasy powers, then do it. If you want to run kids on bikes or whatever system. But I think that this iteration of it, I more made it with the idea that there would be a DM. What a lot of people told me who did play it is they called it dinner. I had one guy call it Dinner Dungeons, which is actually a really great name.
That's cool.
He wrote everything out I had on the slides on index cards, and then they played it at dinner. So they finished it in like a 30-minute session because it's not incredibly complex. I mean, that is by choice. It's a fairly simple system because a lot of times less is more. Especially if you're into kind of the modern game design stuff that I plug into. It's just a bunch of cool dudes, and and I do mean that in the non-binary way.
You got a big guy, you got a small guy.
Yeah.
Those the dichotomy of character creation.
The two type of characters. Yeah.
Guy?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm big. I'm small, and I'm edgy.
Yeah. Oh man, we all could use a Don Gately in our party. So yeah, I think we're pretty much ready to go into the game that you have prepared for us, and I think we're going to roll up our characters and get going. But I do have one last question.
Sure.
And I think this is saving the most controversial question for the last. Wait, was there something in the background? We good?
Yeah, sorry. I opened my phone to get to my stuff, and that was my bad.
Instant TikTok. Okay, I understand.
Yeah,
Anyways,
yeah.
I saved the most controversial question for last. This is going to be a spicy one. Sound off in the comments in your opinion. Do you believe the dice are truly random, and why not?
I am actually I am a famously non superstitious person. I don't really. I think that I don't have the brain wiring that makes sense to me. If I don't have the stuff in front of me. Mm-hmm. So that is to say, I believe in the absolute chaotic power of the dice. Maybe I am superstitious, but the other way. I believe in their ultimate power to do what is right. I actually very recently, in all of my games, have switched to completely front-facing dice rolls, which was a bit of contention. You know how the discourse, I don't know if you guys are on D&D TikTok, but the discourse was, it's the same things over and over again. But a couple months ago, it was, should rolls be front facing or not? And there is the answer to that is whatever you want to do. Who cares? It's your table. Just shut up. But the change has been awesome because I've taken away all the pressure of me trying to figure out when that beat is going to be, when the next interesting thing is going to happen. And I actually have more dice rolls in my games than I think typical D&D games. I encourage my players to call for skill checks, and they make lots of rolls on their turn because rolling dice is fun. So to answer your question, the dice, whether it's random or not, is not the point. The point is that they are the main authority, and that way, when my players are dead in a ditch and a bloody baron is standing on top of them, I didn't do it. It wasn't me.
Oh, now they're the scapegoat.
Exactly. The dice are the scapegoat, and that is how you should view them.
Okay, I like Emily Axford's stance on this. The dice tell the story. It's like if you fail a check, make it part of the story. You know, it's like your super strong fighter goes up to try to break down the door and they fail. That's a moment that'd be funny in a movie. That'd be funny in a story. Live
as
up
long
to
as it doesn't stop the momentum.
Yeah.
I mean, like a no is just as good as a yes. A no is sometimes better than a yes, as long as it falls into something else. I 100% agree with that.
Breaking news, Fortune Seekers. X Seekers of Fortune now has its pre-launch page live on Kickstarter. Click the link in the description below so you can be one of the first people to support X Seekers of Fortune. Also, there's probably going to be some bonuses if you support within the first 24 hours, so be on the lookout for those announcements coming soon. Thank you so much, Fortune Seekers. Please support the game, support the show by liking this episode and subscribing to our podcast. And you know what? Support each other. Back to the show.
So basically, it's a traditional game. The biggest difference, this is a roll under game versus a roll over game. So you're going to use a D6. I got my nice little, you can't see them right now, but they're a little pink, little bubblegum pink D6s. But so you'll need a D6. You could potentially need the full set of stuff for rolling on tables, but I can also roll on this table. So D6 is necessary. You'll have two stats. You have your power and your persona. Power is your ability to externally interact with the world, and persona is your internal space. It is your spirit. It is your willpower, your charisma, your intelligence. So you have a physical stat and you have the non-physical stat. Okay. As far as rolling up your characters, you guys are going to roll 3d6.
Yep.
And you're going to drop the lowest, and then you're going to take those two die, and you're going to put one with your power and one with your persona.
I got 4, 4, 6.
Oh, what? God damn it!
Nice. That's awesome.
I know.
So
this
you're going to get
my story with D&D. I am never lucky with my rolls.
Yeah, I mean, once again, failing forward.
My
a shitty character is the best guy.
Well, based on the character I'm playing, I believe I have to go with my power as a 2 and my persona as a 5. So
Perfect.
We're both two heady guys, I guess, instead of big, strong guys.
That's beautiful. Okay, cool. So that's your stats. You have to pick a class now. There are 3 classes. There's investigator, mercenary, and occultist. I think they're pretty straightforward. Your investigator investigates. Your mercenary shoots and stabs, and your occultist uses magic.
I will choose investigator.
I will be an occultist.
Okay, cool. Your class grants you a boon and a unique class action and an item. The class action is an action you get to do for free on your turn. It doesn't count towards your action economy. Now we're going to we'll get those in a second. Roll 3d6. You're going to drop the lowest again. So you're doing the same thing. This time you're going to add those two numbers together, and that's going to make your HP.
Okay.
Oh man,
I have
2 and 5
6.
again. I got the exact same rolls.
Yeah, I got 2, 2, 4.
Okay, so 6 HP, 7 HP.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Investigator, just so you know, and I'm just reading my rules off my phone right here off TikTok. That's why the sound went off earlier. The investigator, your boon is you use your persona when you make attacks. So you don't use your power stat, you use your persona because you are a clever, scrappy investigator, and when you roll for attacks, you roll against your persona stat.
Oh, that's nice.
Your class action. This is your free item. The free action you can do. You get to discover something hidden. Basically, once a turn. And now that could be during exploration during a turn, or that could be during combat. But it's loosey goosey on purpose. It could be an item. It could be a clue. It could be a person. So you just get to, as class action, is there anything hidden? And I go, yeah, it's behind that trash can. Your item is a flashlight. You can't be ambushed when you have your flashlight out. When you're ambushed, you don't get to make attacks. Your enemies get a boon, and basically it doesn't matter. So as long as you have your flashlight out, you can't be ambushed. And then you pick the cultist. Your class boon is you get to re-roll any 6 once per turn. As a 6 is often a failure, because you're trying to roll under, and most of the stats are not at 6. So once per turn, you can choose to re-roll anybody's 6. You can also re-roll an enemy's. Not that you would normally want to do that, but you can, any roll that happens once per turn, you can use your reaction to go, that is not a 6, re-roll that.
Okay, cool.
Can be used.
So I can re-roll Joel's dice?
You can ask him to you can give him the ability to re-roll if he rolls a 6.
Okay, but he can deny it.
He can, but a 6 is going to be a failure.
Yeah.
Most of the time. So
Got it.
yeah, so if he's being a bit of a goof,
My character might just be stubborn enough to deny the help.
Yeah.
We'll see.
And your class action, this is your free action, you can cast a spell. Only occultists can cast spells. We'll talk about spells when we get into the game. I'm not going to bog you down with all the rules. We'll just unfold them as we need them. You can just think of it abstractly. You can cast magic, and we can describe it as we want to in the scene, and we can work through what that means. And then your item is an occult artifact. It allows you to auto-succeed a check or save once per session. So once per session, if there's a failure, you can pull out your artifact, and you can choose to succeed instead on that check. It also is the thing that helps you cast magic. So what perchance is that item?
Oh, I get to choose?
Yeah, you get to pick whatever you want. It could be a skull or a talisman or a pair of sunglasses or...
Can it be alive?
Sure.
I would like a small orange cat.
Wonderful. Yeah, you have a familiar. What's your cat's name?
Winston.
Okay, Winston the cat. Beautiful.
This is my cat. That's my cat, Danny.
I now need each of you to roll 3d6 again. We're going to determine your fear, your flaw, and your vice.
Okay. Oh, now I roll high. I hope that's a good thing. I got an 11.
You're going to take them individually again.
Oh,
So,
okay. So should I start at the top then?
Yeah, whatever works for you. Just for your fear, what did you roll? You can pick.
5.
I don't care. It's a random table, so it doesn't.
I'm just going to go in order that the dice are presented
perfect.
to me then.
You have a fear of silence. So anytime things are silent, anytime it's too quiet, your fear kicks in, and when you're facing your fear, you have disadvantage on rolls. You roll 2d6, and you take the higher. So anytime it's too quiet, you roll a little less good. What did you roll?
Okay.
For me, I also have a 5.
Okay. Roll again, or pick a different number. Pick a
I'll
different
put
number.
my 4
Okay.
in that spot.
Yeah. Ghost. You're scared of ghosts. It's pretty straightforward. All right. Flaw. What's the Joel? What was your next number?
I had a 2 in the flaw category.
All right. Your flaw is that you are a liar.
Yes, I am. that works.
That tracks.
Giving into your flaw grants you advantage on rolls. So you would roll the 2 and you would take the lowest. So whenever you lie to people, if you use a lie to make a check, that check would have advantage to it.
I have a 5.
And what? A 5? You're dumb.
Okay.
What have we got? Like the guy from what is that movie, The Green Mile? Here, John Cotton.
Well, it's
his persona. It says 6.
Think dumb. Think dumb in the sense that maybe you lack intuition. Maybe you lack the reasoning skills. Maybe you're too headstrong in your beliefs to take in new information.
Yeah, I can see that.
I don't think
I
dumb
think that
has
maps
to.
my character.
I don't think dumb necessarily should be a representation of intelligence, because that's kind of weird
Yeah.
and iffy. It should be about how much objectively you ignore facts and reality and choose to be. Dumbness is a thing you choose. It's not a thing that you
I can
are.
do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we can play into that.
Okay. And then your vice. The last number, Joel?
6.
Other. So you get to pick what your vice is.
Oh, like I could pick anything under the sun?
Anything you want. Yeah. Make it something that is doable in a mall.
Okay.
Think about it. We'll
Yeah. Well, give me a second and get you talk to Danny.
Yeah. What did you roll, Danny?
A 5.
5. Your vice is rage.
Ooh,
You,
okay.
you get angry. You can't control it. Indulging in your vice heals you 1d6.
Heals. What is that? What does that mean? You get to re-roll it?
No, it heals you. So if you've lost HP and you give in to rage, kick a trash can, or whatever the thing is, you get to heal yourself.
Okay. And then Joel, if I may make a recommendation, perhaps your vice could be a taste for exotic meats.
Yeah, Danny, I really appreciate your commitment to the bit, but based on my character and the fact that we're in a mall, I would like my vice to be something in the line of fashion/vanity. So my character, I think, is
Wonderful.
It would really map onto my character to be very vain and to want to, even in this post-apocalypse, want to try on the shoes that they pass or put on makeup and things like that.
And if you become unpresentable, it really affects you. So you're always trying to keep that look about you. I like that. Once again, indulging in your vice. So taking the time to stop doing something productive to check out that scarf in the mirror can heal you. Of course, while you're healing, something might creep out around the corner. Yeah, it's and that's your characters, guys. You are all rolled up. Oh no,
Okay.
that's a lie. That's a lie. We have to pick a weapon. Each of you roll d6.
Okay.
This is gonna be a lot of d6 rolling.
Oh no, I love it. I was going to say, like, if I were designing a TTRPG, I think I'd want to go with a D6 system myself.
It's fun. It's fun.
This is a one dice roll, right? One
Yep.
dice roll. I got a 5.
Okay. What'd you get, Danny?
6.
Okay. 5 is a handgun. 2d6
Oh,
damage.
Weird, but
Range. And it does exploding. So if you roll a 6 on the die, you get to re-roll that die and add it to the total. So it's 2d6 damage, and if you roll 6, each of those 6s get to a re-roll for them. So you could potentially be rolling. If you get enough 6s, you could be rolling 20 die if it keeps exploding. And then, Danny, you said that you got a 6.
Yes.
Well, that's perfect. It's a talisman.
Perfect.
It is basically you can target a creature. They make a save versus your persona, and if they fail, you deal 1 damage.
Okay.
So it's you can use it like a ranged weapon. It's like mini magic, because your spells don't. You only have X amount of times that you can use spells. You can use them. You can cast as many spells as you have persona. So your persona is 6.
My persona is 6. Yes.
Yeah, so you can cast 6 spells in a day, not including the talisman.
Okay.
Roll one more d6. This is compelling for your audience. Just me saying roll another d6.
wait. You said that's both of us, I presume.
Both of you, yeah.
Okay. All right. I got
All right.
a 1.
Okay.
Cyclops.
And Danny, what'd you get?
3.
3. A 1 gives you a med kit. Allows you to heal an ally who's KO'd. You just save against your persona. Just tell me, ask how it works if you want to use it. I'll tell you how it works. And a 3 is ammo. That's funny that you have the ammo and he has the gun. Allows you to use a firearm. So you guys can switch those if you'd like. That might make more sense for the guy with the gun to have the ammo.
I would argue. I mean, I think if we can do it in game, like make it a character moment.
Sure.
We'll
Sure.
see.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. I brought this clip. You can carry a number of items equal to your power stat. So you're having to you're gonna have to manage your items, things you find along the way. If your power stat is low, you can only carry a handful of things, anyways.
Okay.
Now your characters are rolled up. We'll talk about. You don't need to know any of this other stuff. I'll help you with all this other stuff. Spells. Essentially, what you have to do is you roll against your persona stat, Danny, and then if on a success, you get to describe the spell, its appearance, and its effects. And you roll. If you have disadvantage, it's a d6 damage. If it's if it's normal, it's 2d6, and if you have advantage on that, it's 3d6. So it can deal damage with a spell, but you can also just I make this thing disappear. I'm gonna close the door. The best way to think of it is this isn't magic. This isn't arcane, fancy magic. This is the type of magic that like Constantine uses, or the guys in like the Supernatural show. This is like a kind of gritty, occult, ritualistic magic. It's less like you're going to summon demons and stuff, kind of like D&D fare. It's a little bit more like, I turn off all the lights in the room, or I make that, I make the drink he's holding burst into flames, something like that. Okay, that's it. We are ready to go.
Perfect.
Okay.
So I'm going to set us up super quick. I'm going to get us in there, and we're just going to roll on through. The setup. Get into my.
DM voice right here. Oh, sorry, I'm trying to get your territory.
Lion face, lemon face. So the Dead Mall lies at the edge of town. People say it's evil, a gateway to something unknowable, something dark, something dreadful. But unlike most dead malls that closed in the last few years, this mall closed about 30 years ago after a horrific incident that people in your town just don't talk about anymore. And that's distant memory now. So if you guys have motivations for why your character would be here, you can have them. You can just tell me, or we can roll for it, okay? Because I have a table right here that will give you a motivation. But before we get too far into it, we see the exterior of this mall. It's archways and broken glass boarded up, graffiti, and perhaps a singular graffito mark the wall and kind of show a glimpse of its former kind of capitalistic excellence. And as you both approach the building looking for an entrance, we find that you guys, after spending a few hours looking together, find yourselves on the roof of the old toy store on one end of the mall. This toy store has a massive skylight that part of it is broken, and it looks like it's going to be the only entrance in. As the camera's kind of fixating on you two, as the sun starts to set, we see off in the distance. This was a Halloween special. So the whole idea is that you guys are here on Halloween night. We probably should just not worry about that because, as far as relevancy. But as you're there, we're going to pan down on your characters, and Joel, I'll start with you. I want you to describe your character as you're inspecting the skylight, trying to figure out how you're going to get down. Give us your name, tell us what you look like, and tell us your drive, why you're at this mall.
Yes, darling. I am Chadsley Ludwig Vanderpump. My enemies call me Chad. I'm a young musician. I'm probably wearing, feathered hair, sunglasses on even at night, a scarf, a little flamboyant in my dress, maybe a little, was it a unitard covered by a leather jacket, and of course, immaculate shoes. Darling, I'm just perfection. I can't wait to take the stage again, but I need some more fashion, and what better place to find vintage than a mall that was shut down nearly 20 years ago? We're going to find the highest highs in here.
It's funny you say that because the history surrounding this mall is that whatever the incident was so horrible, so many people died, that the vendors weren't even allowed to go back into the stores to collect their goods, their tills. Everything had to be left there as part of evidence of the crime. And then as the trial happened, it was going to be this big public situation. but the conspiracy ran too deep, and it ended up being closed up by the government. So there are, just this place is a treasure trove of ancient fashion, as it were. So that tracks 100%. And remind me your
And with
class
that
again.
macabre story to go along with it, dear, I'm going to just be taking the stage in that kind of outfit is just going to draw all the eyes to me at the Battle of the Bands.
Well, it's gonna be good. Maybe even play a show at the top. You're looking down on the roof. You're like, this would be cool if we could get some equipment up here. And what class were you again, Joel?
I'm the investigator.
You're investigator. Okay. All right. And then Danny, as like the camera, as Chad's looking around. Also, are you a Vanderpump Rules fan? Because
I was just looking for a fancy sounding last name that sounded like it came from money.
I only asked that because I'm a huge Vanderpump Rules fan, and I just wanted to know if I found another.
I know it by reputation, but I haven't seen.
That's fair. And then Danny, as the camera pans over to you, what's your character's name? What do you look like, and why are you here?
So, my name is Joel, and I am wearing a black V-neck. I have a neatly groomed facial hair, and my hair is immaculately pulled back. And I am here looking for my cat, Winston.
Wonderful. Wonderful. A Van Dyke is what we'd call that hairstyle if we were trying that facial hairstyle.
Thank you very much. It is a Van Dyke.
Yeah, Van Dyke. Well, wonderful. Pensively and with great mental consternation, we see Joel looking down and trying to get the attention of his vapid, shiny cohort, saying, we got to climb down inside. So as you both descend into the space, there's a little bit of the glass and metal that's kind of crashed down, and if you wiggle your way down, you can get on one of these massive shelves in this old toy store. The old Toys-Asaurus is the name of the toy store. A dino-themed massive toy store that went out of business in the early 2000s. The Toys-Asaurus, you guys can get down there and you can climb down the shelves. As you do, and before you do, everybody roll a power. Roll against your power score. You need to roll the number or lower. And if you fail, you tumble down the shelves and fall to the ground. And if you succeed, you climb down very nicely.
Well,
and you can just tell me
failure number one for old Ludwig.
Yeah. All right. Perfect.
I rolled a 1.
So
okay. That's the auto succeed.
Perfect.
So we see Joel. You're like, oh well, we're gonna have to go down this way. It's the only way to go. And Ludwig just grabs down, barrels past him, and we just see the shelf under your foot. You got those nice thick boots on. There, Chad, and you just too much
out of my way, Joel. There's a reason they call me the front man.
And you go front face down, and you land with a clatter. Okay. I'm gonna roll a d6. We're gonna do some damage. You take 3 damage from falling down.
Okay, I'm gonna keep track of that.
Remember, you can engage in your vice at any time that it's appropriate to heal, as like your action on a turn. The scene takes a second as Joel makes his way down very carefully, very methodically, not going to make a fool of himself or land in a pile of sharp trash like Chad almost did. And as you look around the Toys-Asaurus, the only light coming through the broken skylight that you guys came down, you see that the shelves lay in disarray, and they create almost like a maze to move through. There is a massive defunct animatronic T-Rex that stands slumped in the center of this maze. It looms over the players as you explore its massive silhouette catching the moonlight from outside, making this massive, imposing figure that almost feels like it's going to spring to life and get you. But it is, alas, ancient.
Yes. Father
And
would never buy that for me. I don't know why. I asked him many times. He got me every other dinosaur in the store. Darling, it just really, really just bummed me out growing up. He never was supportive.
it's true. It's true. Even though he bought all the toys.
Yeah.
All right. So
I guess I'll use
as
my,
you guys, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say I'll use my flashlight, I guess, in order to sort of, indulge in my vice. I'm going to use my flashlight to make sure that I'm back straight after,
Oh,
proper looking
okay.
after my fall.
Yeah,
And while
yeah.
Joel's
You,
getting down.
yeah. Joel gets down and starts to look around. Joel, go ahead and roll a persona to see if you can find the exit to this place. And Joel, as you, sorry, real Joel, Chad, as you kind of preen and primp yourself. You got the light. You're looking at this. It's the funhouse mirrors. It's a toy store. So you're having to like look between them to get the right angle. Roll a d6 to heal.
Okay.
Did you succeed, Fake Joel?
Yeah.
Rolling a d6, I'm rolling against my persona.
You're just rolling a d6 to heal.
Oh, 6.
Yeah, you just get roll a d6 and you add that to your health up to your maximum that you had before.
Oh, okay, cool. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Now, the caveat there is that while you're engaging in this kind of like superfluous action, we see the camera pan out as the two of you slightly separate. Danny's Joel said that he succeeded on his check, right? You were rolling to find the way out of here. You end up getting split up. It doesn't seem like a big deal because when you're climbing down the shelves, it's only maybe a couple hundred feet from where you guys were to the front of the store. Generally know where it is, but it does curve and twist. And at one point, we see Joel kind of climbing through some broken displays. And Chad, as you're there preening, you shine the light. You set it up on the shelf behind you to get the right light, and you start looking around. And I'm gonna roll a d6. Joel.
This is a leather
Chad.
jacket, not a duster.
Chad, go ahead and roll a. Sorry, Chad. Do you want evens or odds?
I would like. Well, I'm all on the even, but I'm quite an oddball, so I'll go with an odds.
All right, rolling the d6, and it is a 4. So as you're looking, you're primping, you hear Joel on the other side. I found it, and when you do, you kind of jump, and when you hit a mirror, and that mirror falls over, and it knocks your flashlight off the shelf. As it hits the ground, you can see the batteries fly out of the back of it, and it rolls out of your purview, and it is now essentially lost in the game. Anytime you engage in your vice, there is a chance that some mishap might happen, but you did get the health back. All right, Joel. Fake Joel.
There has to be some batteries around here. I mean, the store was built, or this mall was shut down when batteries were all the rave.
The
So
flashlight is also rolled underneath a counter, so it's kind of roll. It like lands, the batteries fall out, and it rolls away. And unfortunately, because this is a survival horror game, it is gone. You could potentially find another flashlight, but that flashlight is gone, my friend. I was trying to dissuade you from trying to find it or be able to find it by saying the batteries fell out, so it wouldn't be bright that way. But yeah, that is lost now.
Okay, I understand now, Mr. Game Master. I no longer do I have the light show here, so I guess I'm just going to have to be little old me.
The good news is that there are
flashlight anyways. I like the dark.
there is some interesting stuff in this space. If you as you're looking for the flashlight, roll a d8. Roll a d8.
Did you say a D8?
A d8.
Oh,
First
okay.
time.
Just making sure. I got a 7 on a D8.
You look around and you're like, there's got to be something I can look with, and you don't find a flashlight, but you do find a 6-pack of beer that's over 30 years old, sitting on a shelf. Somebody was in here partying the night of the horrible incident.
Hey,
One can
Joel,
heals you.
I got us some celebration ales. Let's make sure we pack these
I
away.
might could have a couple of those if you save them for me. I wouldn't mind partaking.
Okay, well, let me just catch up with you. I think you should hold on to these. I don't have enough, I don't have the pocket space for this. I know you keep a bag on you.
Well, I'm never going to say no to holding some beer.
Now you guys are on either side of this establishment right now. You're yelling back and forth at each other. At this point, I'm going to roll another d6, and I want Danny. At this time, I want you to say evens or odds.
Evens.
Okay. You hear you guys are like, I found beer. And you're like, I could use a beer. And you guys are having this conversation. You think you hear a sound off in the distance, and you're like, shut up. Shh. But nothing happens. So you are fine. Chad, go ahead and make a persona to try to find your way through the maze and meet up with your friend. And in the meantime, do you want to try to open that door over there, Danny? Danny Joel?
Danny Joel. I have to say no. I passed under the wire with my persona. I rolled a 5, so I did it with flair.
So you come up behind him. You guys are together again, the way it should be.
So I'm looking for a door. Is that right?
You found the door, and as you look at it, you can see that it won't open. It's not locked. It looks like something's blocking it on the other side.
Okay. So do I need to attempt to open it, or I can't open it?
You try to open it, and without giving it a significant push using your power stat, it's going to be hard to open. Although, as you're looking around, some of there's some other stuff around here that might be useful. So you can apply either stat you'd like, depending on what you do. Remember, you have a class action where you can just see things that are hidden. Oh no,
Well,
that's Chad. Yeah, sorry.
Oh,
also,
yeah,
you have magic. So if you wanted to try to will the door open with your magic, you could do that.
Come on, Joel. This is why I brought you along. Roadie tryouts. You got to be able to get through these things. Well, while you're working on that, I'm going to take a look around.
Well, I need to find Winston, and so I don't know if he's in the toy store or not. So I don't necessarily need to go outside.
okay,
So maybe I should call for Winston. Winston, come to Papa. Winston, come to Papa. Papa's here. Papa's here, Winston. So I go towards the sound of Winston.
It's on the other side of
I'm looking to
It's on the
capture
other
more
side
than
of the
one
door.
feline tonight. Oh, other side of the door. Well, before
Then I will.
It's on the other side of the door.
I will cast a spell in that case to remove the door and the object.
Okay.
And
Roll
while
against you. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, while the spell's being cast, I'll use my ability to find things to try to find anything around here. I have a bit of nostalgia. Maybe there's a keychain that I could, to swipe off of the cashier's counter.
Yeah. A lot of the stuff inside the space, because of the open air situation here, it's covered in black mold. This is not a healthy, safe place to be. And as you're looking through, you don't find anything that feels nice that you'd want to put on your person or in your pocket, especially considering your vanity. But what you do find is a massive control box that controls the animatronic T-Rex. And it's got a big red button, just begs to be pressed. As you're looking at that, I'm gonna let Danny have a chance to roll against your persona to do your magic. I think that's a 6, so you just get to cast the magic. I believe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect.
You push and you can feel the cat on the other side, and the cat helps give you strength. And the doors buckle on one side and then blow back open, and you are able to just pull them open with the sheer force of your mind. And Winston leaps through the inky blackness on the other side into your arms. As it does, you look behind it, and there's one mannequin that is standing just right on the other side of where that door was, as if somebody set it up to look through the door. And it just stands there. It's missing its features. It looks almost lifelike, except that it's missing eyes and a mouth. You know, one of those just like dress forms. But as you look closer and closer at it, you can see that whatever texture's on it, it's wet. It looks like flesh.
Ooh.
Hey, Joel, you want to see something? I bet you this ride is still nearly as entertaining as it was 30 years ago.
Click. Pressing the button, you hear a large sound of a backup generator powering up. And a spark as the exposed wiring and the wetness of this place kind of lights up. You hear a flash of carnival sounds and then the roar of dinosaurs as the animatronic T-Rex pulls itself up and lurches forward, spots shining on it, revealing that most of its edifice is melted away, revealing the massive T-Rex robot skeleton inside. And it moves forward, doing its iconic low prices, yell as it roars around. As it does that, the cables that support it, that have become weak with years and years of neglect, snap and bend, and the T-Rex lurches forward and then back and then forward again. I need both of you to make power rolls to dodge being smashed by this massive electronic beast.
Damn.
This game might be over very quickly.
Yes.
I rolled a 5. Joel rolled a 5.
Against your power?
Yes, which is
That's a failure.
Yes.
Ludwig rolled a 3.
So is that pass or fail?
This is really inspiring. Some sort of I don't know, a prehistoric, skeletal monster capitalism beast. I think there's a concept album here.
You're like Five Nights at Freddy's is popular. This could fit in there.
Yeah.
I'm gonna use my boon to re-roll my once per turn.
Okay, go for it.
Oh, let me think.
Did you succeed, Chad?
No, I failed.
Okay. So and you just succeeded, Danny?
Yes.
Okay. So you're like, I bet this will, and you hit the button, and as all this going on, you kind of meet him up at the front. You're like, look at this. This is epic. I could film a music video here. This is great. And as the thing turns and careens, it just falls forward. Falls forward and lands right in the space that you're in, squarely landing on the mannequin that now that you guys have turned your back on is 10 feet closer to you. And the mouth of the dinosaur smashes on the mannequin, and you're going to take 1 damage as it barely gets your ankle as you dive out of the way. As you help him out from under the rubble, you see the mannequin underneath the mouth of the animatronic, writhing in pain as it lets out a scream. Its limbs flailing about as a black liquid drips out of it until it flails no more and is dead.
Wow, I mean, this is so trippy. I don't think I've heard of this in anything. Not a David Bowie album, not a Yes album, not a Pink Floyd album. I have no point of reference for any of this.
This is making me think about the movie There Will Be Blood with all the oil and Daniel Plainview. I'm starting to get some P.T. Anderson vibes.
He's like, did you know that that Daniel Day-Lewis? So with that, you guys can move past the mannequin corpse and head into the deeper part of the mall. As we move into the mall, I need to roll a d20 to see what shops are around you. As you move out, you see that there are a handful of clothing stores and a shoe store. Right as you come out, a lot of these spaces have been boarded up by the police after the incident, but even those artifices can be easily deconstructed.
Joel,
Looking
get
now,
on this. Pull these boards off. I need to get into these places and find my next fashion.
So looking now, just so you guys know, if you look at the map that I sent you, that's on the post, that's for players to use. You guys are moving. You're at Zone 1, and each of the anchor stores are highlighted in red. Those are the main points. All the other shops in the interior of the mall, or as I call it, the ruined shops, are just the area that you travel through. As you go and head towards the clothing store, in the window, the broken window, you see more of those distorted mannequin frames that are twisted and turned, and you get a bad feeling about maybe spending too much time in the kind of the wild space of this mall area too, as it were. You can go inside that clothing shop still, because there is a pretty rad leather jacket just beyond those creepy mannequins. Do you want to go push past them and try to grab that jacket?
I mean, I do want to go and grab the jacket, but I mean, maybe Joel could lead the way this time. I mean, he found his cat after all. I mean, it's the least he could do.
Oh, I do see some pants in there that I wouldn't mind trying on.
Okay, cool. So you guys go up to
probably of the cargo variety, I imagine.
You go up to the to the door, and it has been boarded shut with plywood. You can once again try to use any of your assets or your power to break through that door, or you guys can make power rolls to try to slink between the mannequins without touching them. Now you got kind of a bad feeling about touching them. You don't really want to touch them. Maybe they're regular mannequins. Maybe you're just overthinking it. Maybe that thing wasn't. Maybe you're just seeing stuff, right? What do you want to do? You want to try to go through the window, or do you want to try to get this door down so you can get inside the shop?
I want to just kind of maneuver through the mannequins.
Okay.
I think that would be a nice use of.
Go ahead and roll a power check.
Okay. 6.
As you you push through the mannequins, you're like, better hold on to that cat. You're like, why does he have a cat in the mall? He's like, oh yeah, and the cat you say it was Wilson.
Yeah, Winston.
Winston. You're like, come here, Winston. Oh, you're right. Winston hops up and you grab him. When you do, you kind of teeter in to one of these 3 mannequins that are on the sledge, and when you tap the one, all 3 of them turn and vice grip around you. You have 3 sets of arms, 6 arms wrapped around you. I need you to make a power save to try to slip out quickly before they deal you damage.
4.
Does that beat?
That
I don't have your stats written down, so you just have to tell me whether it succeeds or not.
4. It is. Tie is a succeed.
Ties succeed, yeah. So you are able to slip out. You kind of fall through them into the store. So now we have these 3. They're just called things. I'm not very. I wasn't feeling particularly creative when I named them. 3 mall things. Between you and Chad, we'll go ahead and. We'll say that combat has started, and I will roll a d6 on a 4 through 6. You guys take your actions first. On a 1 through 3, the monsters go first. And it is the monsters that get to go first. The things, as they turn, they twist and contort their bodies, their heads like owls, turning almost upwards of 180 degrees. The fleshy membrane that I described, where their mouths and eyes should be, start to stretch and bend. They look more and more horrific, even as you look at them, as your eyes adjust to the darkness and the light, as if they were these horrible monsters hiding in plain sight. They all turn around because they attack in packs. I'll tell you a little mechanical feature about these monsters. They don't have attacks unless they're in a pack. So they all turn around and they leap down on you, Danny. Unfortunately, you provoke them, and they're only aware of you in this moment. And they are each going to attempt to attack you. You need to try to dodge those attacks. Go ahead and roll your power 3 times, 1 for each monster's attack.
Okay. 5,
It's a failure.
which is a fail. 2,
Pass.
Okay.
and
Okay.
a 3.
Pass.
Okay. So one of them hits you, and they are going to deal you 2d6 damage as they slam you into an old magazine. No, it's a clothing store, so it's one of those racks where all the socks are, right by the checkout. And you are going to take 5 damage as you are pushed to the ground, knocked over. The one that did succeed is grabbing you and has you grappled, so that you'd have to make a check to get away from them, and you cannot take any actions except your class action while you're grappled this way. But it is your turn now, so I'll go ahead and I'm gonna kick it over since you're currently tied up. I'll kick it over to Chad. What do you want to do since you're not really the focus of their vitriol?
I draw my gun and I say, "Back off my roadie, you pay less posers." And then I tried to shoot. And I remember that I gave my bullets to Joel just in case I got a little too blue tonight and thought about having the rock star's way out.
Oh God, that's so dark. I mean, I'm making flesh monsters over here, but that's you have enough. You have one in the chamber.
Okay.
But as far as your ability to continue to fire that, you're going to have to get that clip off of him, which he could easily give you if he gets his arms free. So go ahead and roll against your persona to
Yes.
no, against your power because that's
Well, but my boon is persona for attacks.
because you're an investigator. Yeah, so roll against your persona.
Please, no whammies. Yes, I succeeded.
Nice.
A crack
Blam.
shot I am. Father
You
made sure
did.
of it.
100%. You fire at it. Go ahead and roll 2d6 and deal your damage.
Okay. Now that makes me feel like a man.
Let me shoot my metal penis at you.
Oh, double sixes.
Ooh, then you
The
roll.
star
You roll
power.
them. You roll them again and add those to the total because bullets have
my-
exploding dice. Roll again for each. Of them.
Which I got 8 on that. So what is that? 20 damage.
That's 20 damage. Crack shot. The mannequin that is wrapping up other Joel, just its head explodes into tiny bits of plaster and fleshy membrane, and he is able to get free because of the massive damage there. I'm going to let him toss you that clip as a free action. So go ahead and roll your power, other Joel, to see if you can accurately toss that clip to him. You're like, oh shit, well, I guess I should have never have taken this from him to begin with.
5.
Okay. You toss it, and it flies past Chad, landing a good 15, 20 feet in the interior of the mall, down by one of those, all those old gumball machines and the little, like, horsies you put the quarters in. That there's a little stand over there. Very cool.
You're never tossing me my guitar on stage. Never again.
It is still your turn. That was just a free action. So what do you want to do, other Joel?
Are there still 2 other mannequins attacking us?
Still two other mannequins.
Okay, I will.
I will tell you right now, because of the sheer adrenaline boost of him just completely obliterating that mannequin, you have advantage in the situation. So you're going to roll 2 dice and take the better result. Also, if you cast a spell right now, it will do 3d6 damage instead of 2.
What are the limitations of my spells in terms of what they can do?
Not a lot. This is a quick one-shot where fun matters the most. You tell me what you want to do, and I'll tell you how it works.
Hell yeah, I love the system.
Okay, so could I conceivably cast a spell to leave them all with the cat without Chad?
To leave the mall with the cat? Yeah, 100%. You could do that. Go ahead and roll against your your persona.
Oh, I got a 6.
Oh, perfect. Which is a success for you, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. You roll 3d6, and we'll see how many feet in 20s you're able to get away from this spot. We'll see if you actually get outside the mall.
4, 6, 5.
4, 5, 6,
15
9,
total.
14. So who can math? What's 14 times 20?
15 times 20.
15 times
200, 300.
Yeah, you're all the way back in the parking lot by the car.
What? Joel, get back here, you feline-loving brute! I brought you here for a reason!
Just one.
You get back here if you ever want to be on the road with me again. I need somebody to clean my shoes. I'm going to use my liability. You're never going to be anything without me. Lying.
You yell these things into the ether. I mean, he can't hear you. You're like, you're nothing without me. The mannequins walk up to you. You're so upset. You're so dismayed. You don't recognize that they're coming up behind you. And because you guys have given up on the power of unity and friendship, you both fail. As the mannequins seize you and grab you, Chad, one on the left side and one on the right side, they pull, and as they rend you into two separate pieces, you say, Joel, I'll never... and you are dead. And
No, this is a Tom Ford original.
and that, my friends, is how you play Instant Dungeons Survival Horror Edition.
Oh, Winston, you brought the beer.
Holy shit! Wow, man, we're gonna need a therapy session for that abandonment right there. What?
Hey, I took care of number 1. I got Winston out of them all alive.
Now,
That's-
to
that
be
is-
mad about that.
To be fair, I might have said no to that in a normal play situation, but because we're getting towards the long end of a podcast, I decided to yes and you deciding to leave. I thought that was pretty funty. So,
Wait, Danny, what did you
got
say about the other players hating you at the last game that you were in?
Well, but it was a strategic decision since I have a hard out in 12 minutes.
yeah. I think that was clever. And so once again, it's about assessing their players' needs, right? You need to leave, and you needed a little bit of spotlight, Joel. So we both win.
Epic death! I really appreciate
death. Who
it.
doesn't
Though
like death?
there's a few more things about Ludwig I wanted to get out, but we might save that for some bonus content.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
We can always.
I was
I was gonna say we could always plan a full playthrough of an actual.
Let's
session,
do it.
If that sounds
Yeah.
if that sounds fun to you guys.
and I won't play as Joel this time.
Yeah. I'm just glad I didn't come with the same concepts. I think it would have been hilarious, but I think
you both
that
did
would
it.
have probably been a little too contentious if we were playing as each other.
Yeah.
It would have been
Awesome.
good,
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right. Well, that gives you a little taste of what your system is like, how quick it is to play, how malleable it is, how rules light it is. I had a great time, and I really hope that folks at home can, go and check out more about it. Where can they learn more about that?
I will have this entire game system along with the supplements to the mall, the system, all the stuff I made for this. I'm currently in the process of packaging it up. It will be available on my itch for X amount of dollars. I haven't decided how much. Or when I do have it ready and available, it will be free to everybody at my $6 Pro Patreon. So I have two tiers. I have a $2 tier that's like, hey buddy, I like you. I like giving you $2. And then there's my $6 tier. Anything that I create that is behind a paywall will be free to my Patreon members. So that will be available very soon. Probably. I don't know when these podcasts air, but I assume before the podcast airs. So
What was the price point on Instant Dungeon?
The instant dungeon, the actual rules, you can find them for free on my TikTok. You can also find the fantasy version for free on my itch on itch.io/DNGN Club. At this point, none of my content is behind a paywall.
Well, perhaps this one could go for $6.66.
Ooh. Oh, I forgot to say. Well, I was trying to streamline some stuff, but the way I calculate how much money your character has, it says you're supposed to see how much change you have in your pocket currently, and that's how much.
I did read that, and I forgot to put on pants with pockets, but I was planning on just taking my coin jar and putting it into my pocket.
There you go.
But
There you go. It would have been very helpful. Got nothing to buy here, but.
I've got no cash. Yeah.
But yeah, you can follow me on TikTok. My handle's the Dungeon Manager. You can follow me on Itch. Once again, it's itch.io/DNGN Dungeon Club, and my Patreon, patreon.com/DNGN. It's so hard to say without looking at DNGN Club. Dungeon Club is there. I have all my links in my bio on TikTok. And yeah, I'm just like making toys, and I like playing games.
Well, you're good at it.
Yeah.
We appreciate you
you are
coming
too.
on and doing this, Jack. We wanted you to hang out with us for a long time, and I'm glad we finally got to make this work. And hopefully we can do it again.
Yeah, I had a great time. I really appreciate you guys being so flexible.
Yeah,
Absolutely,
absolutely.
for sure.
Yeah, awesome.
All right. Well, just I guess to wrap things up, just to make sure, Jack, was there anything else you want to get out there before we wrap up the show?
Oh God, that's a lot of pressure.
I know.
No, I mean I love all my followers. I love all my patrons. I love all of my my players. I love my friends and my wife and my child, and I have and I love this. I love these games. So come be my friend. That's all.
Yes,
10 out of 10 would recommend.
Yeah, definitely would recommend paying this man to send you through an adventure. I just got a little taste of the free experience. It was wonderful. The Dungeon Master at TikTok. Danny,
Dungeon Manager. Yeah.
The Dungeon Manager.
Yeah,
on
it's
TikTok.
kind of a bad handle.
And Danny, did you have anything that you needed to get out there before we go?
I love you, Joel.
I love you too, Danny. All right, guys. Well, this has been Danny. I have been Joel, reminding you that you must start somewhere. So why not here?
Because it's haunted in a creepy mall.
Theme music by James Holden, produced and edited by William Wymore.